I love working with clay. I enjoy the close relationship between me and the soft clay. My thoughts travel through my fingers and into the clay, bring it to life and give it a meaning. This brings me great satisfaction. Yes, I made a series of work with clay titled Woman Horse. It tells women's story in the Chinese history. Just by looking at the title, you may think woman horse refers to a female horse. Let me show you. Now, this is Chinese Loi, means woman, and Ma means horse. But together, woman and horse forms a Chinese word for mother. It is the current writing. But I went with pictogram for this work because they are based on building. The pictogram woman is a kneeling female, bowing down and saluting with her hands across. This humble gesture indicates how the oppression of women became everyday life since 4,000 years ago when writing was created. The horse signifies power. The pictogram horse has eyes, hair, a tail, and necks. Aren't they beautiful? You know, there's actually no pictogram for mother. I created. I use the horse's power to show how strong women are, especially mothers, because mothers are the strongest women out there. Chinese women's history can be traced back to matriarchal Qing period, when women's natural abilities were not oppressed. Nuwa was the most powerful woman back then. Described in many writings, she created human beings, nurtured all things, and repaired the sky to save the world. So with this work, I evoked Nuwa, and women could freely explore the outside world, utilize their innate abilities to contribute to family and society, and lead their own lives. This work, the earth tone color signifies the primitive nature. These 10 golden fingers symbolize women's capable hands. Golden horse is a tribute to women's ability to balance everything, kids, work, you name it. The black represents the dirt from the outdoor walks. These Chinese paintings of peonies and butterflies are testament to joy and freedom women enjoy. Sadly, the rise of patriarchy started, confining women to domestic roles. In imperial times, it was really unfortunate to be born a woman. Due to the practice of Confucian thoughts, Chinese classic texts, and unfair laws. In Chinese classic texts it is written, a newborn boy gets bed and fine clothes. Girl, just ordinary clothes and sleep on the ground. Women were expected to obey men their whole lives, father, husband, and son. They couldn't remarry unlike men. They were even encouraged to die with their husband upon his death. Men could easily divorce their wife for not bearing a son or being talkative or jealous. Ming and Qing laws recognize husbands' supremacy over wives. Law cases reflect a husband faced no punishment for beating his wife if there is no injury, but a wife had no recourse for mistreatment. As late as 1918, a wife's assets were subject to her husband's authority. This work, I depict women's suffering. Her unpainted body denotes innocence and being unprotected. Black imagery implies oppressive traditions and lost hopes. Black and white funeral colors mourn the souls of women who endure mental and physical hardships, fearing punishment or even death for opposing their husbands and in-laws, just like carrying 10 horses on their shoulders every day. This piece I pay tribute to Qiu Jin, a pioneering Chinese feminist and heroine. 100 years back, oppression of women was just how things were, but during the late Qing dynasty, with Western invasions, unequal treaties, and economic hardship, Chinese people started waking up to challenge Confucian traditions and weak monarchy, paved the way for the new culture movement, which aimed to drive women to work under the banner of women's liberation. Despite being born into wealth, Qiu Jin saw the inequality in society. She openly challenged gender issues and advocated women's rights. She joined forces against the corrupt government, was arrested during an uprising in 1907, was beheaded at the age of 31. These 2 golden horses denote Qiu Jin's 2 children and her dual goals: overthrowing the Qing government and liberating women from oppression. The red on her body represents the ultimate sacrifice, her blood shed as the first female martyr of the Chinese Revolution. The cherry blossoms represent her pride, and the white petals mark my tears for Qiu Jin, a brave woman. In the Republic of China era, at the first pushed women to work for productivity, but women, confined to home for millennia, how could they cope with the new and complicated society? Wan Ningyu, like other actors, was recruited to portray new women image, as movies were a good medium to reach the illiterate female masses. Wan Ningyu transformed from a girl next door to a movie superstar, but she took her own life at the age of 24. The New York Times described her funeral the greatest of the century. Her last words, "Public opinion is a fearful thing," showed the unbearable pressure she felt from the male-dominated media. She left us with 20 live films, often paying women who had to sell their body to survive and felt shame. Her experiences in the film were common to many unskilled women survive in the cities. I airbrushed this work in yellow to express women's wealth and independence, but it's made of simple clay, depicting the reality underneath. These peonies signifies women's dreams and excitement. The horses represent women's venture into modern city. However, color changes from yellow to brown, signifying their fading hopes. In 1842, the British took Hong Kong as a colony as part of the indemnity for China's destruction of British opium sold to Chinese people. You would think Western rule would ease gender bias, but no. China banned polygamy in 1950, but it took Hong Kong another 20 years to follow. While Communist China was pushing for equal rights and discarding traditional customs in 1949, British Hong Kong government, even in 1972, introduced housing policy benefiting only indigenous male and the male descendants in the new territories in Hong Kong. Through this work, I acknowledge Chang Lai-shang, a humble indigenous Hong Kong woman. You see these standing hairs? They mean her anger against oppression. 10 metallic horses embody women's collective power. The graduated color of the butterflies are for transformation and liberation. The purple, divided from red and blue, depicts the multiple layers of women's strength and capability. Throughout Chiang Lai-shang's life with the family, she was told to work hard to improve her brother's living standards, while Chan, her mother and sisters toiled day and night. Her brothers did nothing. When her father passed away, Chan's brother forced her out of the property her father gave her, because indigenous women had no land inheritance rights. In 1993, when Chan was about 42, she spoke out and led to the Hong Kong female inheritance movements. This movement induced legal change, giving indigenous women the right to inherit land. This piece embodies 3 generations of Hong Kong women: my grandmother, my mother, and me. Born in the 1930s, my mother had a hard life during Japanese occupation. After the British colonial government surrendered after just 18 days of fighting, Hong Kong's people were left to endure 3 years and 8 months of the darkest times. My mother saw my grandmother become a widow and lost 4 children to hunger. Stability became her ultimate dream. My mother considered marriage was a woman's primary goal. She always wanted me to be submissive, otherwise no man wants me. This work represents my mother and her 7 children. The round horses, rough surface, and the bronze color depicts my childhood as a street kid, sunburns and in hand-me-downs. It embodies post-war Hong Kong, rebuilding after Japanese invasion, and poor people. This one crawling out is me, representing my reluctance to accept my mother forbade me from going to school like my brothers. So in this work, I inject my childhood experiences into my mother's image, yearning for an understanding of the hardship I faced when she made every effort to stop my education. It wasn't easy for me. I also incorporate my son's image into mine in this work, titled I Am Who I Am. I stand confidently here, hands on hips, breaking away from the usual submissive pose. I've got this back body and punk hairstyle inspired by my son, embody the rebellious spirits of the new generation, and marks my own breakthrough. Here I put my son on my shoulder, give him space to explore and share life together. This breaks from the traditional portrayal of Chinese mothers, who often hold their children close and attempt to control them. It's all about respecting him as his own person. He is who he is, just like I wanted for myself growing up. The figure stays kneeling, painted back, standing for my struggle against old Chinese traditions. Yet the subtle flowers imply my quiet revolution within. Yes, today I'm free, and I'm truly myself, and I am who I am.